Welcome. I'm Alfred Lambremont Webre, and I have the great privilege and honor to be here with scientist Chris Burres and Outreach Director Patty Greer of C60Evo.com ESS60. And we are welcoming you to this special broadcast. And I want to start especially with Patty Greer because she has a special message for us all and a special question and a special insight. Patty, over to you.
Thank you. Well, Alfred and I have done many, many shows together, probably for the last 8 years. And, we've both grown in different ways. And Chris is new to the family of the conspiracy people, and he's like the balancing factor for us. Keeps a little choke chain on me to make sure I don't go over the top with, what I think I know. But what we all know is that we've all been quarantined for about 10 weeks, 6 hours and 12 minutes, but who's counting? And I think that it's been a real period of time where people have had the opportunity to know themselves better perhaps than ever before, because the hamster wheel that you go on when you're late to work and always running and having your coffee and getting out the door and all these things that we're so used to, all of a sudden your plug was pulled. Not just those people over there or the people in that country, but your plug was pulled. Every single person was quarantined pretty much on the planet except good old Sweden. And, they didn't have too many people get sick. Nobody lost their job. But the point is, here we are finally after all this time, and now we get to come out. And I'm not allowed to talk about the hazmat suit or the mask that we have to wear, but now we get to come out and play again. So what I want to know is myself, what did I do during this 10 weeks that could have helped or hindered planetary evolution, or my own life, or my family's life, or all the people that are my friends on social media that I don't really know, but I realize that I'm getting a lot of requests every day because I'm sharing a lot of information. And I have since I've basically gone on social media, but my choice has been to stay Patty positive. No matter what I know about horrific things, I want to stay positive because I also really understand plasma physics as far as psychically, consciously what that means. Not on a scientific, biological level. I'm not trained in that way. I just know that through my work in the crop circles, I feel something and I can send it out and I'll get a phone call about it. I even manifested a huge memory, and the next day there was a crop circle in England of that very castle with 5 pillars and stars on top. There it was in a crop circle. So for me, I believe, because it's happened to me firsthand, that my field can manifest things in my life. So during this 10 weeks, did you manifest great things? Did you clean your house? Organize your closet? That's a great thing. You don't have to go save the world or invent some free energy device. But if you helped a neighbor who couldn't get out, couldn't walk, wasn't allowed to go for elective surgery, and God forbid, missed a half a dozen sessions of heart, manipulation. Oh, sorry, we had to empty the hospitals, to protect whatever, which we won't talk about. But in the meantime, how did all of you fare? My favorite was last night. I called my friend who finally responded with a text. Oh my God, did I go down a rabbit hole? This is the most, I would say, the highest frequency healer I've ever met. Beautiful woman, tight bun on the top of her head. You'd never guess that it's angelic hair that goes to her hips. She's just, but a lot of people are very humble when they're really great, in my opinion. So I was worried, oh my God, rabbit hole. So I called her and I said, how are you doing? What happened? She said, 10 weeks. I've been with my kids. I brought them back from college. I got off the hamster wheel, first time in 12 years since my husband died. I got off the wheel. I stopped. I got to take walks around the pond in the neighborhood with my kids. Oh my God, I forgot. And that was the moment where I went, yes, this could be one of the many reasons why we've been locked up. I think it's because we were all shopping too much and throwing too much of our plastic away into the ocean, or it blew there, but we were wasting too much. We were allowing airplanes to toxify the sky with their global dimming, with the aluminum, barium, and strontium, and now they're not allowed to fly, most of them. So the skies are blue again. I'm in Colorado. I'm seeing 1970s sky because the airplanes got grounded. God bless. Thank you, whoever did this, on one hand. So I'm only coming up with the Patty positive things because I know that today, sitting here between these two brilliant men, I have influence on a lot of you listening. And I want to say, be positive, hold your faith, and really do some importantly good things. If you sat around and went, oh gosh, I've lost a lot of money, who can I sue? I mean, that's the epitome of the opposite end of consciousness. So it's really about knowing that this last 10 weeks was a rear view mirror of where we've been, and a side view of that side of our face, you know, and the other side what we need to do is actually look straight on into the mirror and say, am I liking what I went through? Am I coming out of it a more grateful person that I got to spend time with my beloved family? You know, that I got to protect them, that I even have them, that I got to wake up in a bed, that I have a refrigerator in the kitchen that's not empty. Yesterday, I stacked toilet paper with my grandkids. It was the most hysterical hour of my life. Toilet paper wars. I mean, and they didn't even know how funny that is to me. But yeah, it was amazing entertainment. And the simplest things, when they can be that amazing, and a belly laugh from a baby. I mean, my heart was so full over a 10-pack of toilet paper. And it's because I'm choosing to be positive. And I'm also, you know, we're all kind of unlocked in Colorado, but we're still supposed to follow certain rules. And, you know, I think it's soon to be over with. I think we're about to see those people that made the rules have to pay a very high price, because it's been an interesting test of human behavior. And I've forgotten in the last 2 days to properly protect the world outside myself, and had to go back to my car like, oops, I forgot we're still playing circus animals. So I'm really trying, you guys. I'm really trying to behave, but we're in it. We are in it so deep right now. The world, everybody's like so stressed. And here I am going, that picture behind Chris, those bottles right there are what got me through. C60 Evo. The ESS60 it's kind of like moldavite is to the world of crystals. Moldavite is not really from the earth. It's a mineral from outer space, but I wear a big necklace of it when I go to important meetings. I wore it when I flew to Texas and met you and Robert. It's a big, huge chunk, and it's green, but it's the highest vibrating mineral on earth because it's not totally of earth. I think the same about ESS60, which some people think of it as C60, but Chris is going to explain today the incredible separation of the old way of thinking, the old way of acting, and the new way of thinking and the new way of being integral. And the difference is ESS60. You know, now when you see something with that word on it, ESS60, you know you're buying C60 that's safe for human consumption. And I never knew any of this before working with Chris and Robert, but I know that one of the reasons I'm Patty, perky, positive puppy face is because I take C60 Evo every day. And it's really hard to make me cry. Sometimes I'm like, you know, but I just stay so positive because there's something painfully balanced in me now where you can't push me over anymore. And Lord knows I've been tested. So if I can be this happy in my shape at this age, imagine what it can do for most people. But I think that as we come out, the most important thing is to have a brief outline of the different ways that you want to be in the world, the different habits and rituals that you want to set up for yourself. And by ritual, I'm not talking about turning into a witch and carrying a wand. We got to be really clear on the air. A ritual is something where you sacredly believe that you're doing something in the best interest of yourself and the world. That's what it is to me. All I have is my own perception when it comes to my spirituality or the work that I do to stay grounded and centered. But this product has changed my life. I've been taking it every day pretty much without fail for 3.5 years. Tablespoon. I got in a bad habit of just tipping the bottle sometimes if I didn't have the patience to grab a spoon. But what it's done for me, and if I told you my age, I'm 103, looking pretty good, feeling pretty perky. But I love the product. And I also love how I went through this 10 weeks. I live in a house I love. I have a life I enjoy. I've got partners that are fabulous. I got friends like Alfred that put us on a show and share with people like you that are out there in all these different countries. Alfred's reach is so far. But again, we're all being tested in so many ways. But I don't see Alfred falling apart or Chris, no matter what's going on. And I feel like we've got this little secret weapon on a spoon every morning. Totally easy. And that's what put me in the business to bring it to the world on a higher level, on the Moldavite level, the ESS60, that high frequency where there's not much in between it and the old way. So on to you guys.
Chris,
Yeah.
welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. You can hear me, right?
Oh, totally. Well, tell us, what is it about C60 ESS60 that makes it special and that makes it, as Patty says, that can keep you? And it's very interesting. These are 4 words that all start with P. Patty positive plasma physics. That makes it so that one can stay positive even when the environment is designed to make one stressed. Over to you.
Yeah, well, so first I'm going to start. I realized I didn't take my afternoon dose, so I actually have my bottle right here. So I wanted to just make sure I get my 5 mils. Actually, usually about 7.5 is what I take.
But now he's going to talk really fast.
And I want to start with what Patty said. That was very eloquent. What a great picture she painted. How dare them take our hamster wheel away? It felt so warm and snuggly before they took it away from us, and then they take it away from us, and we're like, I feel like I'm just suspended in the air, and I don't know what to do. And there's all this fear and anxiety going around with everyone. And with that, I would just say, like, be more compassionate, right? You're on edge. You're probably not sleeping well. I'm actually doing some press work with a good friend of mine, and we're talking about how to sleep better. Like, literally, like, what are the tasks that you could do on a daily basis to sleep better? And in that, I actually talk about this kind of horrible emotional sleep spiral where your emotions are running away, you're ruminating about things, you're worrying about things that you can't even control, and it's affecting your sleep. And then you wake up the next day and you haven't gotten the sleep, and your brain really doesn't have this kind of, your cell phone has a system where it tells you how much battery power it has. Your brain doesn't have this. So you wake up with this lack of sleep, and you're actually less able to handle your emotions when you've gotten less sleep. And when that's true, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make emotional mistakes, unfortunately, usually with loved ones, but maybe with strangers in cars next to you or whatever. And you're going to have these feelings, and then you ruminate again on those, and it just kind of perpetuates this horrible emotional sleep spiral. So one of the things that I think that our product is doing for us is actually helping with sleep. Our customers typically report to us that they take it in the morning, they have mental focus and energy during the day, and then they sleep better that night. And we all know that when you get a good night's sleep, you're better off mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so that's probably one of the key things. I can tell you the most consistent testimonial is better sleep. And then coming in behind that, because I'm getting a lot of these, and it's a lot more subtle, like is people who are saying things like, I have a longer fuse with my children. Well, what does that really mean? It means like you have less stress, and that this situation with your children that would have normally stressed you out is not stressing you out now. And those are testimonials on people who are comparing, like, before being on the product and then being off the product. Before being on the product and then being on the product. And so that could just be caused by that better sleep. And so I'm just going to submit how our product, well, first off, that's probably the most important way. Next, right behind it is the kind of 5 ways that it supports your immune system. One of those is sleep. The next one is a known antibacterial. Then it's a known antiviral. In fact, there are patents related to the ESS60 molecule blocking the replication of the AIDS virus, another coronavirus, right? That's the type of virus that it is. A known antioxidant, at least one study showing it to be 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. And then when we're talking about anti-inflammation, we've got to be very careful with how the FDA views that very specific phrase. And so we can just say that it fits very naturally into an anti-inflammatory diet, like the Mediterranean diet, which is a diet that's known to have reduced incidences of stroke, of heart disease, of Alzheimer's. So, and also it's associated with a group of people who live longer. So I think that it's really, okay, supporting your immune system, that's great. And those people who really are aware of it, that's probably just helping them mentally, feeling more safe and secure about their health. And then it's also just getting better sleep. So that's kind of my take.
So, and just for the background, I know that there's even a person here in the chat that's saying that, oh, I wish we had a Spanish translator on this panel. And I've been sort of giving her a little running commentary about the background of Carbon 60 and C60Evo.com ESS60. Do you have many international orders? I mean, what is kind of the interest outside of the United States in C60Evo.com ESS60? How is that kind of spreading itself around the world? I know that we follow it very closely because of its connection to Bucky Fuller. Over to you.
Patty, if you want to take that.
All the orders. And it's really cute. I have to say that even though there's a lot of them, I thank everyone. I go through all the subscriptions, and when we file them, there's like 39 in a row. And I say, thank you. Thank you. And I not only look at the person, but I look at what country, and I look at how long they've been taking the product. So when I see people that started in November and they're still monthly, it makes me really happy when they're in Israel, when they're in Italy, when they're in France. We sold to South Africa. We've sold to so many countries, a lot in Canada because of you and Richard Serrett and Canadian Coast to Coast Radio, which we did. So Canada is probably the second one to America. We do a lot to the UK and Australia because they speak English and all of our shows are English. Lo siento mucho. But we did just get a nice big order from Mexico, a case. And that reminds me, if you order a case, you get 25% off. It's our best deal. And we never talk about it on the show. But Alfred has customers. You have had the biggest sales of any of our affiliates because you reach out to a lot of really smart people. And so at this time, like I said, as we're coming out of this 10 weeks of everybody, not much sunlight and a lot of isolation, if you buy a case, then you've got bottles to give your friends, your kids, your family, and get yourself ahead. But at this time, I can't recommend enough that if you've got something that's got more than 172 times the power of vitamin C, and you just take it on a spoon in the morning, it's so easy. I think right now is the most important time in our history to really boost your immune system and keep it perky, because we're going to be tested again, maybe. Who knows? But we are in a really questionable time in human history where a lot of things I believe are going to change, and I think change for the better. I'm one of those woo-woos that believes the Jubilee is about to happen, which means that great things are coming and that there's going to be a huge cleanup of all those things that we're holding back ESS60 from being commonplace in everybody's kitchen, and free energy. Again, Moldavite, free energy, ESS60. These are my priorities, which are called, what's the best thing I can do for the world? What's the best thing I can do for me and my family? And Chris is so subtle on every show. He goes, yeah, well, I gave my mom twice the order, of her monthly bottle. I just doubled it and told her double your dose. That's true love. We heard a testimonial from a guy who really loves the product, started giving it to his dogs, and his 12-year-old dog that's been lethargic forever, he wrote us and he said, oh God, he's finally playing with his 6-year-old. He's even humping again. So these are the testimonials we get where you just can't fake it. So, this is where I feel confident about ESS60 because I take it and I know what's going on inside me. And Chris gets a good laugh most of the time we do a show. I talk about what just came out of Patty's body because I've seen my facial skin kind of peel like a snake because I keep rubbing it on and trying it with all these different things to see if I can look younger than 104. And so, it's working pretty well. But I think that the product has changed pretty much every cell in my system. Now, would that be true, Chris? Something this powerful, does it change every cell in your system if you take it this long?
It certainly has that possibility, right? So you got to remember, Patty, I'm a scientist. So for me to say that it affects every cell in your body, I actually need to investigate every cell in your body. And there are a lot of cells in your body. So it's certainly possible. We do know that it enters the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell in your body. Does it specifically get into every cell? Again, I don't know the answer to that. I suspect it does. What we do know is there's actually like 400 times as many ESS60 molecules in one drop. That's one drop of our product has more than 400 times the number of cells of ESS60 molecules than you have cells in your body. Right. So even one drop has enough energy to get into every cell. We just know that that ESS60 is more bioavailable in oil and as a powder is not very bioavailable. So that requires some more extensive studies. We do know that it crosses the blood-brain barrier. We do know that it enters the mitochondria and in some ways participates in that ATP process, which is a process. If you get a room together of kind of mitochondrial experts and you say, hey, would it be good to have a free radical sponge in the mitochondria while mitochondria is actually powering that cell, going through that ATP process, they would all shake their heads, yes, nod their heads, yes, yeah, that would be really important. Well, ESS60 is that amazing free radical sponge, and it does get into the mitochondria. Now, do we scientifically know that that's the what it's doing in the mitochondria is the specific benefit that it's attributing, and what caused these rats in that original longevity study to live 90% and to die without tumors? Well, again, we have hypothesis. The scientific process is hypothesis, test, and then result, and then recreate that result. And so we just don't have that particular test yet.
Well, I can tell you because I've seen every part of my body change that on a non-scientific level, I'm going to say it's probably true because, boy, I've had and between that and the testimonials, people are healing so many different things.
I can share with you a lot of our customers report hair growth. Again, the FDA hasn't evaluated the product. It's not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. Every testimonial that I share, I can go backtrack. In fact, the lady in our front office, Cassandra, actually had one particular hair that was gray on the end and black at the root. Now, I'm not a hair expert. I don't think that's how it's normally supposed to work. Your grays come in and they stay gray. They don't shift to black. And we've had people say that they've seen hair grow where it hasn't grown in years and that it's coming back not gray, right? So whatever the hair color is supposed to be. So there are a lot of testimonials that show that it's doing a fundamental thing. And potentially at the mitochondrial level. And then, of course, if your body's healthier, sleep is about your body healing itself. right? If you think from an evolutionary process, you're going to be asleep for 8 hours and subject to the whims of predators. It doesn't seem like a good strategy. It actually seems like the opposite of a good strategy. So we know, we don't know exactly what's going on, but we know that sleep is paramount to our health, right? In fact, Guinness took out of the Guinness World Record, the people who stay awake the longest, because it will kill you. It's not just like, hey, I stayed awake 7 days and this person stayed awake 9 days. You will die without sleep. That is what happens. So Guinness removed it from their world record. So sleep is paramount. It improves your mental health. It improves your emotional health, which is something that we need so much right now. And it improves your physical health. And so all of those things can be, my current theory is like, if your body's healing physically, mentally, and emotionally, and the ESS60 is taking care of a lot of the physical, getting those reactive oxygen species, those oxidants out of your body before you even go to sleep, then that process, like as you're going into sleep, your brain is like, well, check, that's already taken care of. Let me move on to the emotional things. Let me move on to the mental things. And so can actually improve that. And we have like a lot of people reporting waking up before the alarm clock. That fits in that model. We have people who, even if you were to imbibe too much, right? We have people saying, I should have had a significantly bigger hangover than I do. And I know that because I'm practiced. And so your product has done a pretty good job with this, with, managing hangovers. So there's a lot of things going on. And again, we don't know exactly what's going on. We're working on that research and supporting that research.
Now, Chris, could you explain or share with us, because I think that in this context, it may still be very important, the antiviral properties, why you talk about C60.com ESS60 as being an important antiviral property?
Yes. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Why that is, and why we should be taking it at this time, and what the benefits are?
Right. So I'm going to be very careful here. I think there's, every shifty entrepreneur and their brother is out there going, my product is the best product for, fighting COVID. And I think that's actually unethical. There's not data to support that, then you probably shouldn't be saying it. What we do know is it supports your immune system. And if you want to talk about how it's associated with the HIV virus, first off, the molecule, and I'm holding up a version of it here, a molecule. This is the best way to, if you're not watching, the best way to think about it is if you imagine a soccer ball, the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So you have this spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms, right? So it's a pretty amazing molecule. And what was discovered, it was discovered in 85. The scientists who discovered it won the Nobel Prize in 1996. It was 3 professors out of Rice University here in Houston. And what they did pretty quickly, because that was right around when AIDS and HIV were peaking, they actually put it in a petri dish with the HIV virus. And what they found, now I don't want you to quote me on this. This is what I recall, and this is an article that was written way back in like 1991, 92, is that the size of the buckyball fit right in a particular cup of a protein that was important to the HIV virus and its ability to replicate. And by fitting it in there, it stopped the other component from fitting in there. And so then it was not able to replicate. And you can fast forward now, there are patents related to the molecule that support that it interferes with the replication of the AIDS virus. And this has, like, certainly in Spain and even in China, they actually took some of the anti-HIV drugs and used those because they kind of assumed they might have a positive effect against COVID-19. And so they used those. I don't know what the particular results are. I think if they were perfect results, then they would have already announced that. But what we have is the logic for the buckyball, this ESS60 molecule inhibiting viral growth or viral replication is the right way to say it, is well documented.
Very, very, very interesting. So this is then something that is solidly documented in science.
Yes.
And yeah, that people can rely on when they're taking it in, you know, as a prophylaxis or as a daily supplement.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, well, I was just about to ask you something, but tell me what.
No, you took a breath and it was a long one, so I fell in the hole.
What was that?
I said you took a long breath. I fell in a hole.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I just kind of going to the, what is it? There's the left side and there's the right side, and of the brain, and I often forget which side of which hemisphere of the brain is associated with logical scientific thinking and which side with creative thinking, because I know that Patty, as a musician and artist, is definitely sort of that side of the brain. Is it the left hemisphere? And Chris, as the scientist, is the right hemisphere, right? And Chris, as a scientist, is the left hemisphere, right? Because the left hemisphere is the right hand, which is generally associated with the logical sphere. Am I somewhat C60 ESS coherent here? So I was jumping from a very scientific question to a more creative question. And that is that I have found that in this, I don't want to call it lockdown, but I want to call it in this portal or in this opening, because we were freed from our normal routine, right?
Yeah.
You see, it just depends how you look at things. You can look at things as a lockdown. Oh, gee, I got freed from my normal routine. Wow.
Yeah.
I really have developed, I got the opportunity to develop a whole number of new projects, many of which are going to hit the ground running in weeks and months to come, right? So like, this is like, oh, you got a 10-week greenhouse to go and to develop projects kind of in your greenhouse and do that. And I really feel that without the superpower of that molecule that Chris brought out on the screen, I mean, I had that superpower going for me, and I'm allowed as an author and a futurist and a visionary, as my psychologist, PhD psychologist wife and psychic calls me. You know, it's not like an exaggeration. And Jerry just texted me. Thank you.
Feel you.
Love you. Okay? No, really. Just at that moment.
Plasma field.
Yeah, plasma field. Speak to us, O Muse, of how C60 is an assistive factor in landing us in the new earth of 5D. I mean, I'm just kind of getting us into that higher dimensions. Okay.
Well, I think Chris.
So, and Kev, I don't drink. I don't touch alcohol, and I don't smoke.
Good.
I don't touch cannabis. I'm just going on pure vibes and frequency.
Good. That's good.
I don't drink either. I think it's a real downer. But I do want to talk about what's an upper, which is the C60 Evo. And what I want to point out, when you asked me the countries we sell to, as soon as I said Israel, I had to put my hand on my heart because I haven't asked Chris privately, so I'm going to do it online. But there's this part of me knowing, since he taught me, that no matter how great your method is, that even if you put way too much C60 in all 3 different oils that we sell, you're going to get a maximum of only a certain amount if you do it right. So we get 0.8 milligrams, sometimes 0.87, I heard you say the other day. In olive oil, it'll hold by far the most C60 that I've heard about in any oil.
Yes.
So 0.87 is a lot of C60 milligrams per milliliter. When you look at coconut oil, MCT, organic, super expensive, made beautifully, the same crafty things constantly, 3 weeks at Chris's lab, overfill the C60 concentration, you're still only going to get 0.3 or 0.35 milligrams per milliliter, less than half of what the olive oil will hold. Avocado oil is 0.8, maximum 0.6, I'm sorry. And sometimes he said 0.64, it can get up to. So avocado, a little less than olive, not a big drop. Black seed oil, I was told 0.6 it will hold if you set it up right, maximize your mixing methods. 0.6, 0.65 for the black seed oil. And so then there you go. At the very bottom is coconut oil, which is what I took for the first 18 months. Luckily, the company I bought from was still buying the good stuff from Chris's parent company, which makes the ESS60. So luckily, I had good C60, but it was less than half of what I'm taking now. So that's a really important thing. So when I send this big bottle to Israel of coconut oil, I'm like, I always want to write the lady and say, hi, I just want to let you know, since every month you buy a big bottle, that even though it's delicious, and I don't love olive oil personally, but now that I buy it instead, I'm getting more than twice as much. So, I mean, I really want people to know, and we sell all 3 flavors because some people absolutely don't like olives. Some people love avocado, and they feel at home ordering that. But every time I see an order for coconut oil, there's this part of me that just wants to tell them, we sell it because a lot of people love it, and for the same price, because that MCT coconut oil from real coconuts, not from palm trees, not from palm oil MCT, organic MCT, but it's from palms, palm oil. Bad for the planet, bad for the wildlife, but then coconut, a lot more expensive. So yeah, you're still going to pay the same amount from us, and we're really honest, but you're getting less than half the C60.
Yeah.
So Chris, I mean, is it to me, it's honorable to say, thank you for your order. Are you sure you wouldn't rather switch your case of 12 bottles? I'm like, oh God, 12 bottles to Ireland of coconut. Please order olive, so that all 12 of you, or you 12 months in a row, are going to be blast off instead of, oh, that's kind of nice.
Instead of mediocre. Yeah, I think, and I know that you've contacted our customers. I know that the team here in Houston has contacted customers, and just to let them know, especially on larger purchases, that you do get more bang for your buck. I think as important, or maybe even more important, is there are companies on the market that have kind of made their living on this purple oil, and that never really informed their customers that purple oil, this fabulous purple oil, was actually only a concentration of 0.3, 0.35, and olive oil has a concentration of 0.8, 0.85. And so I think it just goes to, like, who's the company that you're familiar with, that you're using, and that operates with integrity, and you know, through and through, what we do is operate with integrity, and so it can be concerning to call a customer and tell them that they might have potentially purchased the wrong product because you just don't want to ruin the sale, right? And it's the right thing to do. I can tell you another situation where we did this when we're selling powder. We had a company that was buying powder from us, and we realized, this was very early on when the industry was taking off. People were mixing C60 in olive oil, you know, on their kitchen counter or whatever. And there was one company that was buying an industrial grade of C60 where the solvents haven't been removed. And that may set off alarms for you. First off, when you're processing and refining C60, you need to use solvents in order to make that happen. It's normal in this industry. In the supplement industry, there's lots of extracts that were extracted with solvents. So it's something that you manage very readily in this industry. But they were buying C60 that didn't have the solvents removed. And when we finally realized they were buying a lot and what they were doing with it, we actually had a phone call with them and saying, hey, you can't buy that stuff anymore. It's the wrong stuff. You got to actually get it so that it's been processed for safer human consumption. We call that ESS60. And they were like, no, thank you. We don't want the extra cost. We want to remain cheap. And so they did remain cheap. And we don't know where they're buying it from. So again, that's a conversation where we ended up losing a customer, but it's the right ethical conversation to have, because we shouldn't be allowing people to put stuff that may potentially have too many solvents in their product. We got to make sure that it's, again, ESS60, C60 that's safer for human consumption.
Now, Chris, we have a question in the chat, which is pretty direct, and you can answer it any way you want, but I'm going to just read it to you. The question is, quote, please give a comparison between C60Evo.com and Greska's C60. Over to you.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That's no comparison. There is absolutely no comparison. So in our office, we kind of joke, his website is C-60.com. And our joke is, yeah, it's C-60 because there's no C60 in it. And I've done a video already where I basically took his sunflower seed oil and this murky black stuff that his product is. If you compare his to ours visually, there is no comparison because ours is actually dissolved in solution. You don't see particles because in the original study, it was dissolved in solution. My company actually sold that original raw material, is actually mentioned in that original publication, and they dissolved C60 in oil. When you take his material and you filter it, and I've done this on a video, what comes out is pure sunflower seed oil, because what he has is not C60 and it does not dissolve in sunflower seed oil. If you take sunflower seed oil and you put in C60 as we've sold since 1991 to research institutions around the world, in that sunflower seed oil, it actually turns a beautiful purple color. So let's just say, for example, give the benefit of the doubt that there's C60 and amorphous carbon, because this is just fibrous carbon that's sitting in there. And let's say that he's actually got amorphous carbon and C60. What would happen if you filtered it? The C60 is in solution, so it would go through the filter and you would get purple sunflower seed oil. And the carbon, we call it carbon crap because we're always trying to get rid of it, would stay on top of the filter. And so there really is no comparison. Now, I do know that there are great testimonials for Greska. Great, that's fine. Maybe he's come up with, he's not a biologist and he's not a chemist, but maybe somehow he made some process for making what we call carbon junk, carbon crap, and he's made some process to do that, and he sticks it in sunflower seed oil, and it's healthier than this study. Is that in the realm of possibility? I'm a scientist. Many things are in the realm of possibility. Does it have C60 in it? No.
So.
Okay, so follow-up question from another comment in the chat. What does C60 mean? That's the question.
Yeah, so C60 just stands for carbon 60. And really what we say is that C60 is for industrial applications. And there is peer-reviewed published research that shows when you improperly process C60, it is harmful. Don't put it in your body. ESS60 is C60 that's been processed for safer human consumption.
Thus, the name of our company behind Chris is the Evolution, EVO, the Evolution of C60. And pretty much the market, and we don't say names like, since they asked about Greska, we can respond. I don't have the experience in the lab, but I've seen Chris's video where he's really clear with his response, and the lab materials are behind him. So when I listen to Chris do a video about other people's products, which he doesn't really do except this one in particular, I know that it was tested in the lab more than once. So Chris and Robert have watched the industry really blow up in the last few years, and so have I. And I've tried different products personally, but all of a sudden they started seeing the downfall of quality and the downfall of integrity. And some of the biggest companies stopped buying the good stuff, the ESS60.
From us.
The only other places they can really get it are Wuhan, China, or Canada, but that is sublimed, which Chris can explain, again, not safe for human consumption unless it's twice the price. Then it's sublimed properly, and you've got maybe something really exquisite if you want to pay twice as much. But the process that Chris and Robert do after 29 years is most likely the best one on the market to reduce all the solvents out of the mixture and bring you the best possible product. So March and April, not telling me they were smart, they bought 22 products from all the different companies. If a company sold 1 or 2 products or 3 different flavors, they bought them all. So they tested them. And I had to kind of squeeze it out of Chris. I had to bribe him with different things because I'm so curious. Is everybody selling what the bottle says? And I don't think anybody on the market other than us even had 50% of the correct amount that their bottle stated, maximum concentration. That's what we talked about a minute ago. Maximum concentration in olive oil means 0.8 or 0.85. Maximum concentration of black seed oil means 0.6. So when Chris and Rob tested the capsules, the caplets that are online, they had 2 different versions. The first one tested out at so small, the amount of concentration, that Chris and Rob did the math and they said it will take 200 capsules to equal 1 teaspoon of C60 Evo. What? 200. So they made a different caplet. They kind of evolved their process. Now you only need to take 20 caplets to equal 1 spoonful of ESS60. So, if you want to take 20 pills, that's fine. And the bottle says take 2. So if you're going to take 1/10 the dose, you may as well take it from the other major producer whose avocado oil is supposed to be 0.6, but it was 0.06 when Chris and Rob tested it. And I remember when they finally told me the results, I said, "You're pulling my leg. Come on, it can't be that bad." And literally it is. It's 1/10. So the question I have at this point, and this is why ESS60 came to market, the differentiation of stuff that's probably not safe. It could be from Wuhan. It could be 1/10 what the bottle says it should be. Or you buy ESS60 from C60 Evo and you don't think twice. Every batch is tested with an official HPLC machine, which tests the concentration. We're not guessing that your bottle has 0.8. We're not guessing that your coconut oil is maxed out at 0.35. They test every batch more than once, I'm guessing, more than one sample in a huge batch, and they make sure that it's what we say is on the bottle. So they needed to come up with a way to kind of split off the old lost integrity to doing it in a way where people can be served what they're paying for. We don't know if it's just that they don't have money anymore to buy the good stuff, or they don't care about the concentration, that they would just guess, maximum stuff on our bottle, but they're not putting it out in that way. And Chris and Rob didn't buy stuff from 2 years ago and test it. They bought it fresh now, recently. So these are now products that people are paying $100, $200, $300, $400 a bottle for, like they do with us. And it's kind of like buying coconut oil, buying olive oil, but getting coconut oil concentration less than half. And now we're seeing 1/10. That's hideous. And how can their customers not notice? Is it trust after this point? Is it, I don't know what it is, but my question is, are they doing it on purpose or not? But the problem is they're doing it. And there was only one that even matched ours. And Chris said they actually had more C60 than ours did. And here's why. Take it, Chris.
Well, just to answer that quickly, that's the same company that was buying the wrong product. And if you have additional solvents in your C60, again, C60 for industrial applications, you can actually dissolve more because it interacts with the oil. So that's just that. I want to address, Patty brought up a lot of very important things, I think. She didn't describe why I have a video about C-60 out there. The reason is, and why I'm not releasing data about the others. One, conversations with our attorney say that within our industry, it's not a good idea. Actually, classic marketing says negative marketing is not good for the industry. So I am actually reaching out to those manufacturers and kind of letting them know where we stand, coordinating with my attorney to see like when is the right time to release this. So we're talking about that. The reason I did a video about the C-60 stuff is because it actually doesn't have C60 in it. My concern is that whatever he has, he clearly doesn't know what he has. If it harms somebody, if it actually hurts somebody, the FDA has to be notified, and they could come and close an entire industry down because of something that somebody who isn't really in our industry did to somebody. And so I think it's, that's why that particular video is out. I actually have a couple other videos. There's a product that's an activated charcoal product that says on it, potentialized C60. I don't know what potentialized C60, maybe it means potentially C60 in it. But again, standard test, crunch it up, stick it in some toluene. If it doesn't turn a color, then nothing is going into solution and there is no C60 in it. So when it's the tests that I'm releasing are people who are not in my industry. I just don't believe in negative advertising and actually am doing a favor to these other companies and reaching out to them and letting them know our results. I think the next is you ask about batch testing, and you talked about batch testing. I know a lot of people say third-party tested. So our pedigree is we're a scientific lab. We've been producing carbon nanomaterials since 1991. We're actually the first company that still exists to deliver commercial quantities of carbon nanomaterials anywhere. And we've been delivering it to research institutions around the world, again, since 1991. What's unique about that market is when I sell them a C60 powder or a C70 powder or an indahedral powder or some conjugate of C60, the first thing that they do is they take it into their lab, give it to one of their grad students who has the expertise to test it, and they make sure that what we sold them is exactly what we promised to sell them. So we bring that pedigree into our product. So what my DNA is what I sell you. When it says approximately 0.8 milligrams per milliliter on the bottle, that's what I'm selling you. That's what I've had to do for 29 years. And it's actually the right thing to do. All of these other C60 providers, and again, we're kind of demarking C60 from ESS60, didn't grow up with that pedigree. In fact, their customers have, I don't know about you, Alfred or Patty, how many HPLCs do you have in your garage? Like none? Okay. So they've been selling to people who don't have HPLCs, who don't have the right columns, the right mobile phase, the right technology and know-how to test the product. That's not us. We've been testing our product since day one. In fact, in the original study, the preparation process for making the C60 in oil was actually to stir it in an Erlenmeyer flask for 2 weeks. what we came to understand because of all of our in-house testing is in bigger vats, as we're selling more and more of the product, it actually takes a lot longer. If you don't get the right flows right in those vessels, we actually mix ours for 3 weeks now. We also know from testing that you want to mix it in an inner environment. So we have a nitrogen backfill. We're always flushing with into gas so that there's no oxygen. You can imagine when you're spinning something, you get this vortex. And that's, if you've got oxygen in there, it's just sucking oxygen in and folding it into the oil. Not good for oil. So we've got a nitrogen bath on that. And somebody asked about like trust and have they noticed you mentioned, do they trust the product? Like, how can you trust a company that's delivering this lower grade? And have they noticed? And I don't know if you've noticed yet, Patty, but we're seeing more and more testimonials and emails about, I used to use that product. I was stopped getting results on that product. And now I'm on your product. It's a really good product. So very proud to be delivering that kind of quality and value to the customers who deserve it.
Yeah, I got that from a show host this week where she said she was promoting another company. She said, but they sent me 2 big bottles and it didn't do anything. And, I kind of forgot about it. But she said, I got a little bottle of yours. I want more. I could feel it the first day. So, yeah, I mean, we're doing something that makes me really proud. But I'm also a connoisseur. I'm also a person who's probably taken more C60 than anyone else I know. And maybe you and Robert have, drank a bottle or 2, in your spare time. But I think I've done it on a regular basis more than most customers to be able to notice the difference. And I did the caplets for 6 months. I wanted to try everything. And I saw somebody who'd been taking them and he looked fabulous, no wrinkles. And I'm like, dang, I didn't notice. But now I learned that I would have needed 200 a day to actually make a difference because I was doing the big horse pills at the time. So I'm super grateful, but I like fewer stops along the way. I like to fly nonstop and I like to buy direct from the lab. And when it comes to ESS60, I never knew I could buy direct from the lab. And when I created this business with the lab, Chris and Rob, so that everything gets done in one facility. It reminds me of the don't mix the air into the vortex. Don't mix criminals or sloppy people into the vortex. When it comes to Moldavite, it comes from another planetary system. There's not going to be anything getting in the middle. But when it comes to ESS60 or C60, as so many people know it, I don't want air mixed into it. I don't want stuff from Wuhan, China, and I take it. So for me, it's not about really selling it. It's even more about taking it. Oh, Alfred's got another question from somebody.
Yeah, this is a very practical, grounded question. They asked, where is the order form to reorder?
It's on our website. And our website is C60Evo, like evolution, C60Evo.com. And we have a store full of all kinds of deals. If you buy more than one product, you save money. If you buy a monthly subscription, you save 20% on every order. And if you don't love it, send us an email and we'll cancel you that day. But you'll probably love it and you'll probably notice it quickly. And for 20% off, it's kind of a nice discount when the bottles are, they're expensive, but the value of C60 since the 1980s has been more valuable than a gram of gold for a gram of C60. Yes. Yes. Yes, Alfred, said the teacher.
Yeah. Now, we've had a thing going in the chat because at first the special code didn't work. Transparency here. C60 Evo ESS60 is a sponsor of Exopolitics TV,
Proud
which
sponsor.
you're now watching live, and it's on this educational scientific channel, also streaming live on Facebook, and very generously, 15% of what you're generously purchasing now goes to sustain the work of our channel. So the the special code, which is ALWSPEC, hadn't gotten in correctly, and the website didn't enter it. So we had a back and forth on the chat here until it got in. And so that was part of what was going forth. So we're very.
They think you're taking an order?
I'm sorry?
Maybe they think you're taking an order? Hello?
Yeah, no, there's there. And I should also mention that there's been migration from purple to ESS here. I just want to be low key about it, but that's actually occurred as we speak.
The evolution. You forgot to mention that your audience gets 5% off their order. You get 50%.
With that coupon.
Right.
So there is a benefit.
And the audience gets an extra 5%. So we've had so many wins here. I mean, and not only that, you go from a mediocre product to the best product on the planet. You win tremendously from a financial point of view. You get an extra 5% discount depending on your order. You'll get an extra 20% or 25% depending on your thing, and you're sustaining the work of Exopolitics TV, which at these times is the but for this sponsorship, our new products would not be hitting the road over these next couple of months. So it's all happening live as you're watching it.
Amen.
And C60 Evo ESS60 is what is fueling this avatar here with its holographic soul driving it behind.
How are you feeling these days on this C60 Evo product?
I feel very, very good. I got on the scale 2 days ago and I'd lost 10 pounds. Isn't that amazing?
So wait, in the middle of this COVID where everyone's at home and a lot of people are talking about COVID-15 as in similar to the freshman 15 that you gain when you go to college, you gained, everyone else is gaining, you've actually lost weight.
Yeah.
Wow.
I lost 10 pounds.
Wow.
I got on the scale and I'd lost 10 pounds.
Chris, I don't know if it's the glasses, you look thinner too.
Yeah, I'm actually down 20 pounds on the year.
Yeah, today's the first time I noticed. It was like, you look thinner.
Yeah. 220.
Wow.
Yeah. And now there is one question. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, so there are some.
It's hard to watch chat.
Okay, so there are a lot of comments now. The chat board has exploded since we've made this a chat thing, and one says, "I've known this information is so very important. So many are not getting much results, and you know when you try a different band and can feel it. 2 out of 10 I have tried and gotten results." So that's one question. But one of our questions. Oh, okay. So. Says, hold on, let me get there. It's just that it's a little hard to. Okay, so our original person who said, "What does C60 mean?" says, "Still not clear what C60 actually is. Sounds like it's a brand name though." So I'm not sure if our panel has been has been able to explain to this commenter exactly what carbon 60 is as a product that's being offered as a new product, and what that does for a person.
All right. So I don't know if they've been able to tune in. We're going on an hour, so maybe they haven't heard all of it. But this molecule that I'm holding up is a model of a C60 molecule, right? 60 carbon atoms, looks like a soccer ball. Now, why you might be wondering, because I don't think we've really discussed this very much. In 2012, they published a study. They actually assumed that this would be toxic, and kind of the reason that they won the Nobel Prize is because they thought this would be, the guys who discovered it won the Nobel Prize, this would be like a 3D version of benzene. If you're familiar with benzene, you know two things. First, it's ubiquitous in our society. If you look around, anything that's plastic, most medicines, detergents, we don't have modern society without the benzene ring. That's a great thing. Second, it's a carcinogen and toxic. That's not a good thing. They actually assumed, because this is like a 3D version of benzene, that it would be toxic. So they did a toxicity study. The results of that toxicity study were published in 2012. In that study, they gave rats water, rats olive oil, and then rats really the C60 Evo formula. Instead of being toxic, really, because again, they were testing the C60 molecule, which they had processed down into ESS60. Instead of the rats given olive oil and ESS60 dying early because it was toxic, they actually lived 90% longer than the control group. That's the single longest longevity experiment on mammals, peer-reviewed published research, also in history. So that's a pretty exciting result. Now let's add to that, because that's not exciting enough. Those rats that were really given the C60 Evo formula all died without tumors. A typical Worcester rat, that's the rat that was used in this study, lives about 32 months, and they die with a known amount of tumors. And that amount of tumors increases with each day they live. The longer they live, the larger the mass of tumors they have in their body. Even though the C60 Evo rats lived 90% longer, they had no tumors. So hopefully that kind of explains why this is kind of morphed. And just a little bit about my background. I'm a carbon nanomaterial scientist. I'm not supposed to be a supplement guy. This, in a very real sense, isn't my baby. I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to make a product that causes rats to live 90% longer, and then I'm going to go sell it. I didn't go back in my lab and do that. I've been selling this molecule since 1991 to research institutions around the world. In 2012, they released this result. And the result is that these rats lived twice as long, almost twice as long, and they died without tumors. And then people started calling my office going, I'm going to put this in my body. And really, again, I'm a carbon nanomaterial scientist. My first reaction was no, despite the fact that C60 improperly processed is harmful and ESS60 is C60 processed for safer human consumption. I'm conservative because I'm a scientist. And we actually added not for human consumption to our labeling at that time. Fast forward to 2017, it starts getting really popular. Everyone's selling out except for us, because we're the largest manufacturer and distributor of ESS60 on the planet. And I wake up in 2018, and apparently instead of being a carbon nanomaterial scientist, I now have a supplement. When I started 2018, I asked myself two questions. First one is a moral question, right? Am I comfortable selling this? Well, I take the product, my wife takes the product, everybody on my team takes the product, everybody that you can see on the camera right here takes this product. I'm comfortable selling it. That's the most important question. And then the next one here in the States is the FDA and the FTC. And really recently, we actually got an NPN number in Canada. So we're on the right side of all of the institutions that we need to be on. And I like to describe this way, right? Like how my journey ended up being with a supplement. I think there's really two ways that people tend to become a supplement person. One of them is they wake up and they decide to be rich and they decide to sell supplements. And I have no problem with people being wealthy. That's not how I ended up here. And then the other one is people have their own kind of physical problems, or maybe their loved one has a physical challenge and they solve it with supplementation. And so they want to save the world. Hopefully it doesn't surprise you. I have no problem with people saving the world. That's just not how I ended up here. I've been selling this material, carbon nanomaterials, since 1991. They do this crazy toxicity study. The rats live 90% longer, die without tumors. And now I'm just trying to be a good steward to this product that is on the market.
To me, the no tumors is the biggest thing of that test. 90% longer. That's nice. Not sure if I want to be really, really, really old, but no tumors really appeals to me. And we can't claim anything about cancer, but we do know that in a petri dish that the cancer cells were definitely minimized and neutralized and not allowed to grow further once they were introduced to the ESS60, the C60 molecule.
Okay, I have a question here, but first I just have a comment on what Patty just said. Positive Patty. Plasma physics. P to the fourth.
Patty, plasma Patty.
Plasma Patty.
Whose mascot is, of course, the platypus.
Okay.
Whoa. Patty said, I'm not sure I want to be really old. And my comment is, I'm not sure I want to get younger. In other words, I'm sure I want to get younger because I think just like the hair was gray and then it gets black, it actually reverses the aging process. So I just toss that out as something to wonder about. Okay, that's just something to wonder about. Now,
well, I'll add to that because this is interesting because I share the story regularly and maybe over dinner or whatever, and almost very consistently the responses will like, I don't want to live older. I'm like, okay, great. And I asked them, so if you had the same mental capacity, right, as you do today, and the same physical health as you do today, would you be interested in living longer? And then almost universally, it's not entirely universally, but almost universally, it's like, well, yeah, of course. Like if I can maintain this, because people have equated old age with the challenges, the physical challenges and mental challenges that come with old age. What I can tell you in that original study, they didn't say that these rats lived twice as long and that they all had little walkers and oxygen tanks and they were forgetting where they were supposed to go. These were healthy rats until they died at month 62, averaged at month 62. They lived 90% longer than the control group, and they were healthy rats until that point.
Right. Now, here is the question, and this is kind of a double team, and these are like what I call the devil's advocates, okay? They're here to stir up some mischief, okay? Okay, so this is, and we've confronted this issue before because it's a false issue, but I'd like Chris to address this from a scientific point of view, and I'm going to quote it. Here's the comment and the follow-up comment. They're very brief. Quote, C60 is nano equals harmful, don't do it, research it. Okay, so there's that, and then there's another kind of double teamer that comes in and goes, yeah, okay. So I think it's best to just come at this, and maybe after the program, Chris, if you could just send me a couple of scientific articles that I can put in the article that, for a reference, but that's something that comes up. So we have to face that head on. So over to you.
Absolutely. So yes, absolutely. C60 is nano and really also is ESS60, which is C60 that's been processed for safe for human consumption. It is nano. And I think in general, you should be careful with nano because you can actually take something that's good for your body and turn it into a nanoparticle, and it can change how it interacts with your body. And there's cases where that's true. In our case, what we do know is that it was nano when it went into the rats. And you might ask, and I'm going to address this right now, those rats live 90% longer. You can ask like, well, how much of what happens in a rat applies to a human? And I've got, the story's a little bit long, but I'll go through this. Basically, I was on a phone call with a professor out of Duluth University Is that right? I think it's Duluth University. And he actually takes rat studies and takes them to human trials. And I asked him, I asked him this question. So we know that there's some number, like 80% of what happens to a rat does happen to a human, or 10% of what happened to a rat does happen in a human. What is that number? And he didn't give me a number, but he gave me this story. He said, there is a particular case study that most scientists will hold up and shove in your face saying, look, here's the study that proves what happens to a rat doesn't happen to humans. And then he went on to tell me the results of that study. The study was on a morning sickness drug. They gave it to rats. Obviously, the goal was to give it to women because I don't think there's a big concern for rats and morning sickness. But they gave it to rats to identify if it was toxic or not. It was not toxic in the rats. They gave it to the humans, and the humans actually had some of the fetuses, a small percentage of the fetuses were deformed. And scientists will say, see, you just can't take what happens in a rat and apply it to the human. And then this Duluth University professor was like, but had they looked at the fetuses of the rats, they would have noticed they were deformed and they would have never given it to humans. So the one study that they hold up, hey, here's proof of what happens in a rat doesn't happen to a human. Actually, they looked at the wrong data. They didn't look at the fetuses. It wasn't toxic. None of the mothers died. So the result from the rat study actually did happen in the humans. They just never looked at the fetuses and then got this horrible result. So that's one thing when you're trying to look at, okay, how much weight do I give this study? And again, at the end of the day, everyone in your audience has to make this decision for themselves. Does that study carry weight? There's the other thing that you could discuss is, all right, things that happen in rats, do they happen in humans? Okay, we can have a debate about that. But as soon as you start adding what are called other animal models into the mix, then you start getting more and more confident about what's going to happen in these models happens in humans. So there is a study that I'm aware of in mice, where the mice lived 95% longer than the control group. Now, you're like, oh, a rat is similar to a mice. No, actually, it's not. A rat is more similar genetically to a human than a rat is to a mouse. So be careful with your own genetic intuition. It is very often wrong.
Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just read out 3 things, and then so that's probably a great way to deal with them. We have a couple of related questions. Any idea of how long let me read out the questions and then you can address them. Any idea of how long a dose of carbon-60 stays in the body? That's one question. Another person says, again, I got my first order of C60 Evo today, but this cancer nano talk is getting me nervous. So I think that all this scientific talk has this gentleman nervous. So I think it would be good to walk him through. And I think this is for Patty. There's a gentleman in the UK who has been ordering C60, and he's getting threatening letters from FedEx saying that he owes them $37 for duty or for something, and it's a headache that he doesn't need. So maybe after Chris is talking, you can address that with him, and maybe you and he can have a private conversation. But anyway,
I can address that. I can address that one as well. So how long does C60 stay in your body? First off, if you're putting it in your body, it should be ESS60. I don't put C60 in my body. The way we sell it out of my parent company is C60 is for industrial applications. ESS60 is C60 processed for safer human consumption. Current thought process is it's about 2 weeks. That is debatable, right? I'm a scientist. I believe in transparency. If you look at that original study, the last rat actually got a dose at month 17 and then lived to month 62. So whatever it did in the body, if any remained in the body, clearly it was beneficial. But typically you can extract, you can find most of the C60 that is introduced into a rat. You can find it in their feces within about, well, the equivalent of 14 days. So that's one. Cancer nano. Let me just address that. So again, we go back to the study, right? If you're super nervous with nano, I get it. Like, again, remember, this isn't my baby. I love this product and I'm very comfortable selling it. But it's not like I created it in the lab to do all these wonderful things for you. And if you shun it, then you're offending my baby. I don't care. It's another data point. Let me see if I can make you comfortable. Patty was talking about a Petri dish and cancer cells. This is how amazing this molecule is. So you take a Petri dish and you have cancer cells and you have healthy cells in this Petri dish. And you introduce an anti-cancer agent. Another way to say anti-cancer agent is poison. There's invariably poisons. They're just hoping they kill the cancer first. You introduce ESS60 molecule. Now, when you introduce the anti-cancer agent, the presence of the ESS60 molecule increases the efficacy of that poison against the cancer cells and actually has protective benefits for the healthy cells. So I don't know if Patty got all of that across, but just know from the studies that we have behind you, it's really good. And then in terms of shipping, if you've got FedEx challenging you, call the C60 Evo number. We will take care of you. It may not surprise you. You are not the only shipping problem we have ever had in the history of our business, but we always take care of our customers. We will do right by you. If that means we got to send it US postage, if that means I got to hand deliver it and fly it over there, we do the right thing for our customers. So don't worry about that. And somebody suggested that you should cancel it. I mean, you can, that's not the right way to do it. Just get in contact with us. We'll make sure you're taken care of.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The other thing, the word nano is scary. The word carbon is also scary because the spiritual people are saying, we want to get out of our carbon bodies and get into our crystalline bodies. But again, we're kind of talking apples and oranges. It's more of an etheric term. It's not literally carbon. And the carbon molecule has been called the miracle molecule. C60, ESS60, the upgraded version, has been called a miracle molecule by so many people. We don't claim it's true, but people say my cataracts are gone. We don't claim it's true, but a 30-year-old famous guitar player said, oh my God, the energy's great, but yeah, I don't feel anything in my joints. I mean, I'm 30. And then he looked at his fingers and he goes, oh my God, the pain is gone. And he just sat there like flicking his fingers. He totally forgot. So I think a lot of times when we start something, like the gentleman, I wouldn't worry if it was also, anti-cancer, because whatever's going on in me, if that is true, which it is, then it's another benefit. It's not like it's going to hurt you in any way if it's also an antiviral, or if it's also an antioxidant, or if it's also an antibiotic, or an anti-inflammatory, or an antioxidant. ESS60 is all these things in a little spoonful in the morning. And people that know me, I used to make films. I've done a lot of very strange things and gotten myself in a little bit of trouble because I believe in truth and honor and integrity. And so I've told the truth a little bit before we were allowed to tell the truth. And so I've had to pay. And for that reason, when I started taking C60 and ESS60, I was in really rough shape. I'd been hurt and kind of struggling to live. And this stuff saved me. And every 6 months, I notice something new in my system that's refunctioning. And I know that I have lost 60 years of intestinal garbage through taking this product. I've referred to it as a roto-rooter. So for me, being out here selling it, I'm only telling you what it's done for me. I can't back up nano anything but I have been to the lab, and I have been to 3 other labs, 2 others actually, 3 total, but nobody compares to what they're doing in Texas. And that's why they were the ones I chose to partner up with and start a brand new business, because I know I'm going to be taking it for my whole life. And I also want to only do the one-stop shop. I only want to buy from Chris and Rob. And so, hey, pretty cool that now I own the company with them. So, I can bring it to a lot more people, but I bring it by experience, not by guessing, not, hi, I'm a scientist and pretending to be a scientist. I don't do that. A lot of people do, but I don't do that. I'm just the girl that's taken so much ESS60 that I can tell you what it does. And this is what it does right here.
Yeah. So I just went, oh, sorry.
Yeah, there's one person who asked a very specific question about a company, Kathy, and I just want to address this. So her question is, so the C60 Purple Power is not as potent as your brand. Hopefully I've made it clear, like we've been advised not to talk about specific brands, etc. What I would say is, if you're trusting me enough to, in fact, we do get this question. In fact, I got this question once. It was this crazy. Somebody wrote in and said, I'm taking this product, which was not ours, and I'm considering switching over to this product, which was also not ours. Do you think I should switch? Well, it turned out the other company that they were considering switching to was the company we stopped selling C60 that had solvents to at a cost to us. And so basically I shared that story. And then ultimately I said, listen, if you trust us, really, like, you're putting this in your body, like, just buy from us. Okay. And also, if you want to know if it's potent, give it a try. We have testimonials where people have changed their supplier and just have raved about the product. So that's just what I wanted to add there.
Yeah, and just one final, the gentleman who wanted to know where the Reorder page is, says that he would like you to contact him. So I'm not sure how to do that. Perhaps.
Yeah, the best way, and I think it looks like it's Lou. Lou, just go to the website, C60Evo.com, and there's a contact us form, and we'll get that to the person who can answer your question, or if it needs to come to me, it will actually come to me.
Yeah. So we're now getting up to the 90-minute mark, which I think is a very good place. I mean, that's where people have gotten to that place of,
I'm full.
Yeah, information overload.
Information satisfaction. And so do you feel that you've been able to say everything that you had wanted to say? Here's one question, so we can address that. He says, I would believe that C60 Evo would have to allow the body to utilize nutrition much better. I wonder if there are certain foods that would give C60 a boost, i.e., it sounds like they want to use C60 in foods. Is that how you would read that question?
Well, yeah. So what I would say, sometimes people are asking, is it good to take? I mean, and there are companies out there saying, oh, you have to take it with apple. There's no data to support that. There may be testimonials, and they may be rock solid testimonials, but I don't drive things off of testimonials. I drive things off of data. So I won't tell you to eat it with apples if I don't have any data. There's people who say that you should take it with hydrogen water. There's no data that says that. I think that speaks to the integrity of whoever is just saying that's the only way to take it, or that makes improvements, when there is actually no data that suggests that. If you think about it, ESS60, again, it's C60, ESS60 in olive oil, ESS60 is the molecule. Olive oil is really already a food. So people ask, do I need to take it with food? Do I not take it with food? It really is up to you. Our typical, well, I can share you what my routine is. When I get to work, I actually make my coffee at work. I put our MCT product, right? Yes, it has a little bit lower concentration, but MCT oil is good for your brain. I put MCT oil in my coffee. You may have heard of bulletproof coffee. So it's kind of a bulletproof coffee experience, except it's got our nice ESS60 molecule. Then I take a teaspoon and a half. And really, it's not exact dosing. It's just the amount that fits in the big spoon that's in my kitchen. And I take a teaspoon and a half of our olive oil product. And then for lunch, I actually spread our avocado product over my salad. So I'm really getting all three of those. Most of our customers take it in the morning, report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night.
I take mine in the morning before noon because it keeps you awake. Sometimes when I take it late in the day, my limit is 3 o'clock, and I've seen myself run to the kitchen at 2:45, like, crap, you know, but that's even too late for me. Sometimes it'll keep you awake because it really does energize you. I like to do it with food, but again, I was doing a different product that was not what we're doing now. And so perhaps considering that the oil is food, you know, I might try it on an empty stomach, but I don't. They also say that sometimes when you take supplements, food kind of brings it to life. I don't know if that's true scientifically, but I think that I've heard that in testimonials that, you know, people get more of a boost when they take it and they put food in. So, you know, you want to test it out for yourself, see what feels good. But I do want to encourage people to only order the olive oil if you want the most C60 concentration, and also to order ESS60 only so that you know you're not getting, I'm sorry to say, but C60 from Wuhan, China. Not only is it C60 questionable, but it could be from China. And personally, I'm just talking about my own perception, I take the product. I'm not buying it anywhere else. So thank you, Chris, for this amazing opportunity to do it with you. Thank you, Alfred, because
Thank you, Alfred.
Bring us to the world regularly. Your audience loves you. They trust you. And I actually used a testimonial from one of your people for an ad run that I did. He wrote, he said, Alfred, did you get abducted by aliens and dropped back because you look 100 years younger or 10 years younger? I don't even remember, but he was like, did you get abducted? It was really a funny one. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, and the technical term, the kind of exopolitical updated term is abducted, which means taken to the stars, because you can be abducted, which is where you're unconscious and, you know, some bad things can happen. But abducted is where your consciousness is expanded, and so that when you come back to Earth, you can do good things like bring C60 Evo ESS to the people. So I really want to thank you. I really want to thank C60 Evo ESS 60 for giving this opportunity to Exopolitics TV and really enriching all of our lives with this, and we look forward to your joining us again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alfred.